Hello, it's Matt Linklater. I've been featured in Inc. magazine on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. My mission is to change the financial landscape of America. So when you think about it as a leader, you have to push your team's envelope each and every day. You have to elevate their standard. This is really about how do you maximize your time. So how do you do it within your business? How do you figure out who your target market is? And ultimately, you want to narrow that focus, don't you? So how do you push beyond your emotions and kind of visualize your success? And you have to be congruent, one of thought, one of word, and one of action. The quality of your life is found in the rituals that you keep. The quality in your business is found in the rituals that you keep for your business. Exie. Say, I can.
I can.
Say, I must.
I must.
Say, I am.
I am.
Say, Axie Unstoppable.
Stop.
Hey, I want to share with you a meeting that we had the other day and two great things that happened in the meeting and some things that you could utilize. And it's really about handling objections and closing out the meeting. So a lot of times is that how our sales process works is that we send out engagement letters to people. And we send out either our engagement letter and then our lawyer sends their engagement letter. This is for a bigger plan. And so how do you control that? And so we always want to set the next meeting. And so I don't want to go through all that with you, but I want to share with you just the two things that happened at the end of one of our last meetings that was fantastic. And it really boils down to one kind of, or two ideas. Number one is how do you handle objections? And so I have a whole book on how to handle objections. I have 8 different strategies on how to handle objections. But I want to share with you one kind of way to handle the price objection that I thought my lawyer did fantastic. And then I want to share with you a way on how to make sure you're getting that next step in the sales process. Because too often I see people not get the next step. They think, hey, they're going to get a deal, and then that deal stalls, or they're chasing the person. And so how do you do it? And so let's go to the first one. So the first one was a price objection. So our attorney got a price objection on what he was charging. And so, the guy kind of said, well, I'm just, trying to wrap my head around writing that big of a check because not everybody writes that big of a check all the time. And so my lawyer did a great job. Instead of handling the price objection, because it's not about price, it's about establishing that value. Because if you can see the value, people will pay any price. So, one thing that we do obviously is sell money. We help create tax efficiencies, and so does our tax attorney and things. So we're helping create tax efficiencies and create some wealth for people. So the price they're paying pales in comparison to the amount of wealth we're creating. So we're actually selling money, if you will. But in this scenario, the guy said, hey, I'm having a tough time wrapping my head around the price, if you will. And so instead of my attorney going right after price objection, he did something fantastic. He said, well, I'll tell you what other things are in your way of getting this deal done? What other things are standing in your way? So what he did is he shifted away from the price objection, because if he was going to hit that head on, then it just becomes, what do you want to pay? How much should I lower my price? Instead, he shifted it, got all the other objections out there, and was able to create what's called a contrast frame. So when he got all the objections out there, he was able to reestablish the value. Once you get all the objections out, you can reestablish value. And when you reestablish value, people are willing to pay any price, because if the value is stacked higher than the price, then you got a deal. But if you just hit the price head on, then it's like, well, okay, how much do you want to pay? And I've seen this done before. And so when I was partnering with a training company, right before the guy even had objections, the owner of the training company I was partnered with, he jumped in and said, well, look, we can probably lower that price for you. But that wasn't the guy's objection. The guy just had possibly other objections. He wanted to see more value. And so ultimately, don't jump at the price objection. What you want to do is get all the objections out and say, okay, how do I take all these objections, reestablish my value, so chunk up to the bigger picture, to the problems and goals of the client, and reestablish that value so the price seems minimal. So that's number one, is create a contrast frame, but don't jump at the price objection. Say, what are all the objections you have? Get them out on the table so you can reframe all of them, if you will, and reestablish value. So the other thing is that I said at the end is, one thing is this, and you can write this down, the fortune is always in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. And what do I mean by that is that how many times, and let me explain this, I've ran literally over 14 to 15,000 sales meetings. I keep track of my sales meetings, but the total I lost track of at about 13,000. I just didn't keep adding up there. I was just kind of looked back and I was like, wow, I ran 13,000 sales meetings. And I want to tell you, they weren't all great meetings, and I still make a ton of mistakes. But, you know, I get better and I learn from them, and I make less mistakes than I did way early on. But here's the biggest mistake that I see salespeople make and that I've made, is the fortune's in the follow-up. So most salespeople actually don't get the next step in the sales process. Even when you think the deal's closed, you need to get the next step. And so you need to follow up with the person. You need to continuously have that scheduled follow-up, those expectations set. So we have a multiple layered sales process. And I'm not going to go through that, but we have one sales meeting, then we have a second sales meeting. After that second sales meeting, we get an engagement letter out, and then we have a third meeting, if need be, to go over the engagement letter. But the other day, the gentleman said, hey, I'm in. This is good. But you know what? I just wanted to get, before I hang up the phone, I want to get one last question in. I want to get one last closing statement in, if you will, and I want to just get one firm commitment from him. So it's pretty simple, and it's not earth-shattering, but instead of just kind of leaving it like we all feel like it was going to be good, what I asked him, I said, hey, sir, don't want to give his name. I said, I know you're a busy guy. It sounds like you're going to send in those engagement letters here very shortly. For some reason, if we don't hear from you, if we don't see those engagement letters, when should we follow up with you? Because now in his mind, he has a deadline of, hey, I got to get these in or these guys are going to call me. And we do it in such a nice, gentle way that we're setting that expectation. And so ultimately, what he said is, okay, well, no, you're going to see this in the next couple of days, but if you don't see it from me, this is I think on Wednesday, if you don't see it from me, call me by the end of the week. So now we established that, hey, we're going to chat with him on Friday if we don't see anything from him. Now, nothing's foolproof, but it was a simple closing statement to get him to say, yes, I'm going to do it. In his mind's eye, he had to picture himself doing that to even say it. And so ultimately, he was committed to getting in the engagement letters, and at that point, he was saying yes to us and yes to himself. And if God forbid something didn't happen, instead of saying a chase game and not knowing when the deadline was when he was going to set that in, we set that next expectation for follow-up of when we were going to go out and give him a call and start following up with him. So I just want to share with you those ideas, something that might seem simple to a lot of us, but it's just great ideas to always remember at the end of every meeting, get that next step. What's that next step? Outline that next step and set expectations for the client. The biggest thing is when you set expectations, you're serving your client. You're adding value to the client because they're busy doing what they're doing. So when you set the frame for that expectation and you future pace what's going to happen, you get them in the state of doing business with you. So remember, get that next step 100% of the time at the end of every meeting, and you'll have more success in your business. So go out, try that out, have some more success, and if we can help you out, come and check us out. We look forward to chatting with you soon. Exie, say I can.
I can.
Say I must.
I must.
Say I am.
I am.
Say Exie Unstoppable.
Example.